Hello, today I'm going to talk to you about how to decide which tool to use, which AI tool to use, on which use case it is useful. Because often I talk with architects, with architecture professionals, and they tell me, okay, does this tool useful? Should I test it, and so on? But I always say that to answer this question, I need to understand how they work, what are the main tasks they do day after day, and first identify the pain points, the problem in your current organization where you can save time and so on and so on. So there is a match to be done between what AI can do, and this is the expertise that I have, and what you need to solve, and this is the expertise that you have. So in this video, we are going to talk about this methodology and how you can apply it to your own company to use AI effectively and really save time. So don't miss this video, and subscribe to this channel if you want to know more about AI in architecture and construction, how to use it, which tool to use. On this channel, for example, we do some interview with some AI tool co-founder, and I also make some tutorial on how to use practically AI as an architect or architecture professional. So let's go. So to my client, to the architects that I meet, I often advise to first make a list of their tasks, how they work on a day-to-day. So you will tell me, maybe I know how I work, but what's the matter to list all of that? The idea here is to list where there are some tasks that you don't like to do, tasks that you think that takes too much time by comparison with their value, tasks that if they would be done more fast, more rapidly, they would accelerate the whole project, the whole process. So you need to focus on this type of task. So basically, it is, for example, the fact to bootstrap project design by getting all the data, all the urban legislation around the project, around the site. It could be a way to render the images. If you figure out that you do the same rendering process, which is time consuming and very manual all the time, maybe it's a good candidate for AI automation. So this is the first step. So but you will probably end up with a long list of tasks, of wish list, and of course you will not be able to automate, to work on them from the day one and in only one day. Me personally, I have also my long list, and I just wait for the ones that are not that urgent, because the idea here is that the time that you will spend in automating, in understanding how to use AI, in setting up a process which is more efficient, of course you will save all the time of the next iteration, but it is always a bit more complex than you think. And the idea is that you really feel the pain, and you decide, okay, I'm going to spend a little time, I'm going to spend maybe a little money to set this up, and we are going to go much faster in the future. So when you have this long list, the second step is to do some grouping, some prioritization. So this prioritization, you could do it with your team, but you could do it also alone. The idea here is that you identify which one is the more important. So you have several techniques. One technique that I know and experience when I was working, for example, for Renault, using the agile methodology. So this technique is to use a kind of color circle. I don't know how to say that, but if you use post-it, if you use sticky note, you have a lot of sticky note on the wall. There are other type of sticky note which is a circular color vignette, or I don't know how to say, and you give this to your team member, and each one can vote on a sticky note, on an action. So the idea here is that you identify which one is more important for the more number of people. If you are not alone, and if you are alone, you could do the same methodology, but you could also use some metrics, like for example, if I solve this task I need to solve it because it takes me time, because I don't like it, because there is more impact than other tasks, and so on. So you could have also some objective metrics to evaluate if it is more important or not. And when you have this list, which is fine-tuned, which is smaller, Now you could go to the next step, which is to do the actual planning of how you're going to work, how you're going to automate. And to do this, there is a technique which is basically to map, to describe how you do by hand. What I mean by hand is without AI, without automation. So you, of course, you know it, maybe, probably because you do it, but to put it on paper, to document on a text document, it's also very important for your team member. If you have new team members, they will benefit from this documentation. And an important point is to identify, for example, the starting point, so what I call input, and the last step of the process, what I call the output. So it's to me, AI is just a way to go faster from input to an output. And when you identify this output, and there is one global input, one global output, but there are also some intermediary output when you split the task in different steps. And automating is not just, okay, there is a tool that allow to go to step one to the last step, but you could also find some intermediate tool or techniques that permit to go from step 2 to step 3, and it's already very valuable, and you could go step by step like this. Personally, it's what I'm doing, because sometimes there is some blocking steps that are not possible to handle with AI currently, but I don't just stop to using AI. I prefer to adopt it progressively, and it already helped me. So that it's more concrete, I will take an example. You are on a construction site and you want to do some meeting reports. So this is a very frequent case if you follow up some construction project. If you are an architect, you need often to make what is called a meeting minute, so a list of the tasks that the construction company needs to be done, a list of the status, and so on. So it's generally a formatted document, which is always formatted the same, though it may depend of the company, but the global format is roughly the same. And to do this type of report, you have different way of getting the information. So depending on the people, some people are noting on their notebook, so the famous architect's notebook. They could be doing note on their laptop. You could also record the meeting, though it is in direct in a small house construction block. I don't know how to say. In the construction site, generally the meetings are on the site itself, and it's not always possible to record and have a good quality of sound, but it's possible if you want. It's another technique. You could also use both technique to record and to take note. One technique that I like is to make an audio report at the end of the meeting, but alone. So I can concentrate on what I record. I remind. I can even reread the report, the topic list of the meeting, and for each topic, I can just say to a recording what I remind and what are the actions and so on. This way of doing is very good because you have a synthesis that your brain is doing. So it's not all what is said, and generally when in a long meeting there are some things that people say that are not that useful for the final decision to identify the fact, and this way when it's you that do the task at the end of the meeting, it's more synthetic. So this is another way to do it. So when you have this, finally what you want of course a meeting report all formatted in the way you always done, and so on. So this is not always possible because the presentation of a Word document is complex. It's a complex software which is not really well connected with the rest. I mean, when you generate a Google Doc, you use what is called an API to generate the document, but this API is not that consistent. So a Google Doc may not always be exactly how you would like to do. Also, the problem with wanting to have exactly the same template is that you use LLM, so ChatGPT, Gemini, Claude, and so on, to make something that is not done for that. So basically, your LLM is to generate the text, to extract some information, to format and so on, but not to put this information in a template. To do that, there are better ways. You could use automation, you could use N8, make.com, and so on, which are platforms that can link a design, a template with some data, so the data that will be extracted, generated from ChatGPT. So this could be technical for some. If you want some help, don't hesitate to ask me. I also developed a tool which is called SUPERARCHI, so I will present you more in detail with some video on that channel, this tool. But basically, I also include this functionality of taking the input notes, so the audio, the recording, the note from a notebook, and to generate a meeting report which is with your template. So this is important. So this is one use case. To me, it's automatizable. There is no big problem, but there could be for some people who want exactly their same template and design. So I suggest that you could accept this 10% change by comparison with your habits, with your what you do actually. If you save 3 hours to 3 hours per week, I think it worth the effort. So that was to illustrate this methodology. I think you understood. So if I try to summarize, the first step is to list all the tasks, all the actions that you do on a weekly basis, but that are not so valuable, where you take too much time, and so on and so on. The second step is to identify, prioritize the ones which are more important for you. And for that, you could use some well-known prioritization technique like Agile method, where people vote on the more important tasks for them, or more objective framework, where you define some properties like the time that I earn, that I save by automating this task, the importance for the rest of the team, and so on and so on. And when you have some tasks to automate, you have a first step, which is to evaluate how you do it by hand, what are the input, what are the output, what we want to do actually, and finally you could define what tool are the good tool for that. Is it a tool which is purpose for that same specific action, like meeting reports? There are many tools that do that. Or it is a generalist tool like ChatGPT, but if you use a model AI chatbot like ChatGPT, you need to do all the process. You need probably to use some kind of automation, or maybe if you have the opportunity to try SUPERARCHI, maybe you could also use this tool. Okay, so I think that was it for today. If you want to have more video of this kind, to learn about how to use AI effectively as a AEC professional, don't hesitate to subscribe, and please give a like to this video if you like this content. Bye bye.